City Clerk, if you could call the roll, please.
Bowling.
Present.
Freed.
Here.
Lockhart.
Here.
Newman.
Here.
O'Doherty.
Here.
Shumway. Absent. Behill. Here. Richardson.
Here.
And Cumby.
Here.
That's 8 present and 1 absent, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk. Next, I'd like to turn it over to public comment on non-agenda items. I have one person signed up, and that is Natalie Johansson. Natalie, you want to come to the podium? Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. My name is Natalie Johansson. I work for Powder River Basin Resource Council, as well as the Alliance for Renewable Energy here in Laramie. I'm here tonight to discuss 2 bills in the state legislature that will significantly impact Laramie's energy future and our residents' ability to control their energy costs. House Bill 183 would expand energy opportunities and energy independence, something particularly valuable for our community. Laramie could benefit from the bill's provision to allow for larger solar installations up to 200 kilowatts, while the current cap is 25 kilowatts. This would help non-residential buildings such as schools, local businesses such as New to You, and community buildings such as the Rec Center, Ice Rink have much larger renewable systems. This bill also allows for property owners to combine electric meters on a single property. This is valuable for ranchers and business owners and anyone with multiple buildings and to allow them to lower their utility bills. Overall, House Bill 183 encourages more rooftop solar and energy independence in Wyoming. This bill is expected to be in the Minerals Committee maybe this Monday, January 27th. I encourage you to testify in support of the bill using the talking points and the fact sheets that I will hand out tonight. You'll note the tone of the fact sheets is written to appeal to the majority of our lawmakers and sponsors of the bill. However, Senate File 111 is an attack on net metering. This bill creates new barriers for Wyoming residents and businesses wanting to generate their own power. Wyoming currently has minimal rooftop solar, only about 0.25% of all electric retail sales in the state. Senate File 111 solves no real problem while making it harder for our community members to reduce their electricity costs. A recent University of Wyoming survey showed that 70% of Wyoming residents support solar as a part of our energy future. This bill will be heard in the Corporations Committee as soon as this week, maybe next. I urge the Council to support House Bill 183 and oppose Senate File 111. If you're interested in testifying on either bill, please do so or reach out to me for questions, and thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your comments.
Thank you.
Are there any other public comments on non-agenda items? Seeing none? Oh, yes.
We do have Linda Devine online
Oh,
with a hand
okay.
raised.
Yes.
Good evening,
Good evening, Linda.
Honorable Mayor and City Council. I just wanted to hop on here today. Yesterday was Martin Luther King Jr. Holiday. It was a federal holiday, and also Wyoming Equality, a state holiday. A lot of county and state offices were closed, but the City of Laramie offices weren't. I'm just wondering if that's something that the city would consider for next year. I don't know. the ins and outs of it. I think it's going to be really important these days as the university has eliminated a lot of programs for marginalized communities, and I think that we need to provide all the support that we can. Obviously, one day in closing the office doesn't help, but I think it does show some semblance of what we're wanting to do here in our community. And piggybacking on that, I wonder if the city council has considered initiating any types of programs to help support our marginalized communities, since a lot of the programs that were offered through the university have been eliminated. And then secondly, which is completely off the opposite or target, I wanted to let you know that in West Laramie, the Snowy Range Flea Market is coming up on their second or their first year anniversary, and they're having a celebration on February 8th. They've expanded their services now to include fresh meat, dairy, bread, produce. They've actually become a licensed grocery store, and I'm hoping that perhaps some of the city council members would consider attending this celebration. I was over there today and I told them I'd give a plug for them. It's something that West Laramie has needed for a long time. So just wanted to bring that up. And I thank you all for your service and being out on a cold night. That's why I'm appearing by video, because I wasn't about to get outside. So thank you all. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Ms. Devine. We appreciate your comments. Are there any other public comments on non-agenda items? Yes, sir. If you'll come to the podium and state your name, please, for the record.
My slave name is Andrew Joel. I'm here to bring some awareness. I appreciate the fact that I get right to the point and I can go home and sit by my fire. I hate to interrupt you for any of your business I'm sure you are a professional with. However, that's the means of what I'm here for, is to bring some awareness to the fact that this jar right here is smarter than Holly Austin. That Holly Austin is in her position abusing these constituents. Your constituents are being abused by Holly Austin Lebesky right now. And this is the poster child of it right now. And in a few days, I think it's the 23rd at 10:30, you're going to be able to watch this jar, this very jar, dethrone the queen of the recidivism rate of vulnerable people in your community. She is taking her position, harming those who reform, and using her position to then create a narrative so she can keep her meat hooks in these people. Do we want men sitting there in jail?
Point of order.
Or do we want men who have learned their lesson and has followed the suit, has followed suit and has accomplished what the whole process is meant for? So if you want to check it out, there's the jar that's going to call Holly Austin Lebowski, or Holly Hitler, as I call her.
Thank you for your comments.
Yeah?
Yes, thank you for your comments.
All right, just realize, here is the poster child. It exists.
Point of order.
He is right here.
Call to order, please.
He's right there.
Call
He
to order.
exists.
Thank you.
Okay, you can't ignore it. He's right there, people. Thank you for your time. Long live liberty. And Laramie.
Next, there are no proclamations or public hearings, so I turn it over to the city manager for announcements.
Thank you, Mayor. We have 3 announcements this evening. I think we will start with Finance and Director Wade.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council members. I would just like to announce for the public that our Open Data Finance Transparency Portal is now live. We're calling it Open Finance. So we'll be posting on social media about that initiative in the coming weeks. Spencer Katuri, who really led the rollout of this product, did create a couple of really short videos to help make the tool user-friendly. We've got some good FAQs, and we've done what we can to really open the doors and engage folks. But certainly, as you're using the tool, get in touch with my team if you have any questions at all. Looking forward to the work session on this topic on February the 11th.
Thank you. Next announcement from Assistant
Manager.
City Manager Todd Fieser, who is on the Zoom call.
City Manager.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
I got out of order after that. And so if I could intervene and ask the Vice Mayor to set the agenda.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to set the agenda, that the agenda be set as submitted.
Do I have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
The agenda is set. Now, we'll continue City Manager with announcements. I'm sorry.
Thank you. And I think Assistant City Manager Fieser is ready via Zoom to make his announcement.
Mayor and Council, Nancy, do you have that flyer up? Thank you, Nancy. Gives me great pleasure to announce to you guys tonight and to the public that we'll be having the North 4th Street Urban Renewal Plan and Project Open House on January 30th. We'll be hosting 2 open houses, one from 11:30 to 1 p.m. and one from 4:30 to 6:30 p.m. at the North 4th Street Old Street Shop, which is 955 North 4th Street. In conjunction with that, next week we'll be having a work session with City Council on urban renewal. We'll also be discussing the North 4th Street Plan and Project and a little bit of an update from the Laramie Urban Renewal Agency. So we're really excited to get our first plan and project out in front of the public and yourselves, and look forward to seeing you guys next Tuesday, and then maybe drop by at the open house on that Thursday.
Thank you, Assistant City Manager.
And then we have one final announcement, Mayor, from the City Clerk.
I will send that right over. I don't know what happened when I hit the flyer. It started playing something, so I will send the flyer over to you.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Pardon me, Parks and Rec Director, making the next announcement.
Honorable Mayor, City Council, I just wanted to make the announcement that, as you're aware, we have a very large moose sculpture outside that you pass by on a regular basis, and we had a moose party not too long ago that part of the event was nominating names for what that moose would be called. And just today we found out that the Laramie Public Art Coalition had put that out to the internet, and we had 98 votes in total. I don't know what the winning total number was, but the moose's name is now Bartholomew. So, and that was the confusion where I wrote Bartholomew and the city manager read Bartholomew. So that, sorry for the confusion on that, but the moose's name is Bartholomew, and there will be a placard or a sign going up soon. We don't know exactly when, but that was my announcement, and I hope that provided a little comic relief. So thank you.
Thank you, Director Borg. And now, City Manager.
Well, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to present our Employee of the Month, or our rock star for December. I'd like to welcome Landfill Operator 2, Jimmy Boudreau, this evening. Let me tell you a little bit about Jimmy as he comes up to the podium. He was nominated by his supervisor for having great work ethic and a very positive attitude. Mr. Boudreau has been with us since September of 2021. He was promoted after 1 year, and has been subsequently promoted as well to Landfill Operator 2 after earning his CDL. 4 months of traveling back and forth to Cheyenne to secure that CDL license. What does Mr. Boudreau do as a landfill operator too? Well, he hauls the trash from the tipping floor where you and I probably leave it to the C&D pit or to the municipal solid waste pit, performs all of the compacting and daily cover required in order to meet regulatory requirements under Wyoming Department of Environmental Quality, and just keeping the landfill tidy and that waste disposed of and compacted so we get maximum value in life out of each very expensive cell at the landfill. A little bit about Jimmy. After graduating in the top 10% of his high school class, he joined the U.S. Air Force. He was a nuclear missile guiding system professional, landing in his last stop at F.E. Warren Air Force Base, which is what brings him to us because he is originally born and raised in Louisiana. He picked his wife Lorraine out of, quote, an ocean of people at Cheyenne Frontier Days, and they now have 3 sons and 1 daughter. So we can all relate to meeting nice people at Frontier Days. With that, I wanted to welcome Mr. Boudreau up here to just be acknowledged by you for the wonderful service he provides to the community and the very important service, which is, of course, managing the solid waste that we generate as a community. So come on up. And you're welcome to say something or not. That's okay.
Thank you very much. I'll let y'all continue.
Thank you so much for your hard work.
Council, are there any disclosures? Then, Vice Mayor, I turn it over to you.
Thank you. I move to approve Amendment 1 to the Professional Engineering Services Agreement for the Thornburg Drive.
Point of order.
Oh, gosh, sorry. I'm jumping right in. Let me go back. Sorry, folks, this is the second time I've tried to jump ahead. All right, try again. I move that the consent agenda be approved and that each specific action on the consent agenda be approved as indicated.
Second.
That motion moved and seconded. Call the roll.
Bowling,
Aye.
Freed,
Yes.
Lockhart,
Yes.
Newman,
Yes.
O'Doherty,
Yes.
Shumway, absent, Hill,
Yes.
Richardson,
Yes.
Cumby.
Yes.
That's 8 yeses, 0 nos, and 1 absent, Your Honor.
Thank you. Now, we will move on to the regular agenda. Item 11, Vice Mayor.
Okay, this time, here we go. I move to approve Amendment 1 to the Professional Engineering Services Agreement for the Thornburg Drive Alleys Priority Replacement Project and the amount of $107,000 for a total contract amount of $280,506 and authorize the mayor and clerk to sign.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion by Richardson, second by Hill.
Yeah. Mayor, Council, good evening. The Thornburg Alley project includes approximately 2,600 feet of water main and 700 feet of sanitary sewer line replacement. Adjacent to, it's in the 2 alleys adjacent to Thornburg. I've included a map in your package. You can kind of see the project limits there. The project has been designed and it's currently out to bid. The project is our #1 priority rehabilitation project. Due to some failing pipe infrastructure and potential risk to private property. The constructability of this project is going to be very difficult. The alleys are only 14 feet wide, and the lines are up to 10 feet deep. And this alley, you can see from your map there, is curved, which makes it even tougher. The project is also going to be disruptive to our residents. This isn't the last time I'm going to tell you that, because we're going to probably have some hiccups along the way that we're going to need to work through. These difficulties led to a different project about 15 years ago. This project was due for replacement, and there was some new liner process that came out for water lines, and that was installed. And that was 15 years ago, and that's now failing, so we've got to get in there and actually replace the line. As we evaluated that line, our wastewater folks said, hey, we better go take a look at the sewer line while we're in there. Let's make sure we're good. So they ran some camera, and that's why we're also doing the sewer line on top. There's some failures of the sewer line in that area also. Through the design process, we've identified a number of obstructions in the alley. Some trees, shrubs, fences, and structures like chicken coops and storage sheds. So after assessing those impacts, we believe it's prudent to incorporate some additional survey activities into the professional services agreement. The additional survey proposed for this amendment will allow staff the ability to have property boundary monuments set for each property. We don't think we're going to have to do it for each property, but the amendment we're asking for would fund every property. If we don't have to do every property, we don't spend the money. The city will alleviate any ambiguity regarding the property lines and protect the city, its contractors, and adjacent residents with the additional survey. We sent out notices, and we had a public meeting back in July. Code enforcement has actually been working with a lot of the residents there to get some things cleaned up in the alley. We will also be noticing any residents that we know have conflicts in the alley, and we'll be directly working with them while we do the surveys. Those structures I talked about, the chicken coops and the storage sheds and things like that, we will definitely give the residents the opportunity to move those back onto their property once that survey is completed. And then as the construction project occurs, there's going to be some fences that will need to be removed, and the project will replace those. There's even some fences that are on the property line legally, but there's probably going to be some areas where they've got to be removed just for the excavator and the equipment to be able to swing and move. And we'll be working with the residents through that process. But for this amendment, just to be clear, this is to add legal survey work and the placement of property boundary monuments for each property adjacent to the project, if needed. We hope not all, but we need the funding just in case. So I stand for questions if you have them.
Councilors, are there any questions? Councilor Bowling.
Yeah, thank you, Director Webb. Just a few questions. And this is purely for my own curiosity, but I noticed in your summary the systems that were lined in 2010. I noticed your summary also mentioned that company has since gone out of business, and that's no longer really an option working with them. I'm just curious, how often do we encounter a measure like that we have a contractor and then, say for instance, they go out of business, and then does that end up costing us more money on the back end?
Yeah, Councilor Bowling, through you, Mayor. I can't think of another one off the top of my head that we've had go out of business on us. The problem with this one, obviously, the technology held up for 15 years. And so I think we got our money's worth out of it. We were going to have to do the replacement anyway. We just kind of prolonged it.
Sure.
But I think we got our money out of saving that for 15 more years. The problem with the company being out of business now is those parts and pieces when we put the pipe together with the new liner, there's a special connector that goes in, and they're just no longer available. We've got a couple on hand, but that's it. So if we have a break in that alley, we're not going to be able to repair the pipe without completely replacing it.
Quick follow-up.
follow-up.
Thank you. Thank you, Director Webb. Thank you, Mayor. Do you have plans for another public notice to go out or another public meeting?
Yeah, through you, Mayor. So anybody we have conflicts with, we're definitely going to reach out to and work directly with them. The contractor is required as part of their contract to notice before, I can't remember the timeline. You know what the timeline is before the project? 2-3 weeks before the project to notice everybody. They'll do door hangers and things like that. So this project's going to have a lot of outreach because we know there's going to be a lot of disruption.
Thank you, Director Webb.
Councilor Newman.
Obviously, this has to be done, so I'm not questioning that, but if some of these lines are 10 feet deep, then that's a lot of earth to move. I assume, and that's why this is a question, but I'm assuming 21st Street and Sheridan, we're going to have some closures when we tie into the main there. And where are we putting all that dirt? Because I don't see it just staying in the alley.
Sure. Councilor Newman, through you, Mayor. Normally on these projects that we're not digging the entire alley at the same time, right? We're doing sections. So the majority of that dirt will remain in the alley. They'll just kind of move it off the side and then switch it back once they get the pipe in place, basically. And then if need be, there are times where we haul the dirt out and then bring it back in.
Councilor O'Doherty, you have a question?
Mayor, my sister just got out of recovery from surgery, and so I'm going to excuse myself from the meeting because it looks like you have a safe quorum. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Thank you, Councilor O'Doherty. You're in our thoughts.
Thanks.
Seeing no further questions, are there any comments on this item from the public? Seeing none, I return to council for comments. Are there any comments? Seeing none, City Clerk, call the roll, please.
Bowling.
Aye.
Freed.
Yes.
Lockhart.
Yes.
Newman.
Yes.
O'Doherty. Absent. Shumway. Absent. Vigil.
Yes.
Richardson.
Yes.
And Cumby.
Yes.
That's 7 yeses, 0 nos, and 2 absent, Your Honor.
Thank you. Item 12, Councilor Bowling.
Pardon me, Mayor, my computer shut down for a sec.
I understand.
I move to award professional engineering services for the Zone 1 tank project to Dowell in the amount of $388,490, along with contingency of $38,849, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to sign.
Second.
Do I have a second? Motion by Bowling, second by Vice Mayor Richardson. Eric?
Good evening, members of council. The project for you tonight is a new tank that we're proposing that will ensure Laramie's water system remains reliable, efficient, and prepared for future growth. There's some key objectives to this tank project that we're looking at tonight. The first will be maintaining the water supply to our Zone 1 system, even when the existing 8 million gallon reservoir is out of service. The current 8 million gallon tank is a critical component to our water system, but has had some increasing maintenance over the last few years, and we need to have this tank in place so we can get in there and maintain that easier. This tank will also ensure redundancy so the system remains operational even during repairs, and we can have reliable service for both now and looking into the future. This tank will also enable the water system to transfer water from the new Zone 1 tank to other zones through both the existing and new pump stations. And it will also enhance the water delivery during peak demand times, particularly to Zone 1 and Laramie's growing north side. City staff will work with the consultant to identify the optimal tank location to achieve these objectives, and then once determined, we will collaborate to design and implement this new tank. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions you guys have on it.
Councilors, are there any questions?
Hey, I have a question.
Vice Mayor Richardson?
Sorry, I'm not sure if this was, thank you. I don't see it, and I don't remember seeing it before. Is this another 8 million gallon tank, or is this a different size tank that is then kind of used more as a backup?
Honorable Mayor, through you, the exact size of this tank is yet to be determined. Some of that will kind of come through depending on where the location is. So one of the scope of the work that the consultant will work with is to determine the size of that tank.
Follow-up? Follow-up. So this bid then would encompass whatever that largest size tank would be, but if something is smaller, then all of these dollars don't get spent. Is that the idea?
So what we're talking about today is just the design of it, but when it actually is bid, it will be the size of the tank. I doubt it will be an 8 million gallon, but we'll have to kind of see where that final location is and what is needed for that.
Great. Thank you.
Any other questions? Councilor Bowling?
I know that we're in a design phase. Is there a proposed completion date once bidding starts? I didn't see that on the Dowell spreadsheet.
Yeah, Your Honorable Mayor, through you. So we don't have an actual for finalized with the construction, but we're hoping to have it designed this year and then bidding next year. And some of that will kind of depend on the exact location, what we need to do with it. It's a little bit of unknowns on when the construction would actually be finalized, but our hope is to be bidding next spring sometime.
Seeing no further questions, are there any comments on this item from the public? Seeing none, I return to council. Do you have any comments on this item? Seeing none, City Clerk, please call the roll.
Bowling,
Yes.
Freed,
Aye.
Lockhart,
Yes.
Newman,
Yes.
O'Doherty, absent, Shumway, absent, Vigil,
Yes.
Richardson,
Yes.
Cumby.
Yes.
That's 7 yeses, 0 nos, and 2 absent, Your Honor.
Item 13, Councilor Newman.
I move to approve the Clean Water State Revolving Fund Loan Agreement between the Wyoming State Loan and Investment Board and the City of Laramie and authorize the mayor and city clerk to sign the provided documents.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Second, motion by Newman, second Lockhart. Director Webb, welcome back.
Thank you, Mayor. On April 2nd of last year, City Council approved Resolution 2024-29, authorizing staff to submit the application to the State Loan and Investment Board through the Clean Water State Revolving Fund Loan Program for the West Laramie Lift Station. On October 3rd, the State Loan and Investment Board approved the city's application for $9.5 million with a repayment term of 20 years. The project includes construction of a new lift station on West Laramie. The current one is at the end of its useful life. It serves approximately 10,000 residents in the community. The project is identified as a priority in the wastewater master plan, the wastewater fund capital budget, and the state's intended use plan. So in front of you tonight is the loan agreement from the State Loan and Investment Board, and these funds will allow for the construction of the lift station to occur. Take any questions if you have.
Councilors, questions? Councilor Newman.
I have a question. Thanks for doing this. I know you guys had to pour a lot of time into this, and I'm glad it's finally here, so thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any questions? Seeing none, are there any questions or comments from the public on this item? Seeing none, I return to council. Do you have any further comments? City Clerk, if you can call the roll, please.
Bowling,
Aye.
Freed,
Yes.
Lockhart,
Yes.
Newman,
Yes.
O'Doherty, absent, Shumway, absent, Vigil,
Yes.
Richardson,
Yes.
Cumby.
Yes.
That's 7 yeses, 0 nos, and 2 absent, Your Honor.
Thank you. Item 14, Councilor Vigil.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve Amendment Number 2 to the Professional Engineering Services Agreement with Tetra Tech for the West Laramie main lift station project in the amount of $125,099 with a contingency of $21,901 and authorize the mayor and city clerk to sign.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion by Vigil, second by Vice Mayor Richardson. Thank you.
Good evening again, members of council. So this amendment is actually for the project that Mr. Webb was just discussing. He was talking about the construction services. We have been under design services for that project currently. This is amendment number 2 with Tetra Tech. The amendment will address additional scope needs identified during the design phase, including refined engineering service and technical adjustments to ensure the project meets the city's goals. I can answer any questions you have on this.
Councilors, any questions? Councilor Freed.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Just a quick question. I guess for my knowledge and maybe context, I saw this is transitioning from a submersible pump configuration to a wet well, dry well configuration. Could you just describe what that is? I just didn't know. Thanks.
Yeah, you're on, Mayor. A lot of that kind of comes where the pumps are actually located in it. Our current one out there, the pump is submerged. So when the waste goes in, the pump is surrounded in that tank and pumps up. The one we're proposing actually will then be above that, and then it'll just have suction that goes down. That makes it a lot easier for maintenance when you're pulling that out to work on that. And that's kind of the difference of where the pump is actually located in the tank.
Thank you.
Any further questions? I had to look that one up myself. Any public comment on this item? Seeing none, I return to council. Do you have any comments? Seeing none, City Clerk, if you can call the roll.
Bowling.
Aye.
Freed.
Yes.
Lockhart.
Yes.
Newman.
Yes.
O'Doherty, absent. Shumway, absent. Vigil.
Yes.
Richardson.
Yes.
Cumby.
Yes.
That's 7 yeses, 0 nos, and 2 absent, Your Honor.
Mayor. I move to approve original ordinance number 2096 on third and final reading, amending Laramie Municipal Code, Chapter 13.44, related to low-income affordable municipal service rates, and to authorize the mayor and city clerk to sign.
Second.
Motion by Lockhart, second by Newman.
Good evening,
Director
Honorable
Wade.
Mayor and councilors. I am happy to join you this evening for the third and final reading of original ordinance 2096. And just as a reminder, changes to this ordinance arose from initial discussions with the previous council and comments they made about wanting to ensure our low-income municipal services rate ordinance was updated for our new surface water drainage operation. And so staff proposed to the city council several changes to this ordinance, taking as gospel, if you will, the existing ordinance. And so inflating the existing credit, keeping the federal poverty guidelines and the programs in place, and really just doing a lot of language cleanup because, of course, this ordinance actually hadn't been revised since 2014. So I won't give you any more of a summary than that because I feel like I did a fairly concise summary last meeting. I would like to correct a Scrivener's error in my summary sheet. The existing rate is $37.58, not $37.37. And with that, I'm open to any questions you may have.
Councilors, any questions? Councilor Lockhart.
Thank you, Mayor. This is more of a comment, Ms. Wade. The last meeting we had, someone came up and it mentioned something in it. And I think they misunderstood that there was going to be less of a discount and an increase in the rate. So I just want to make sure we're clear that the discount is increasing, not decreasing for the qualified individuals that we're talking about.
Honorable Mayor, if I can.
Yes, please.
So the credit is actually increasing. It would increase from $37.58 if you choose to adopt the ordinance as staff have presented it to you, to $51.51, and in addition, effective on July 1st, there would be $4.40 credit if you have a surface water drainage fee on your account.
Thank you. Counselor Newman?
Director Wade, I see there's a recommended for postponement. Would staff still like somebody to do that?
Counselor Richardson?
I can speak to that. So if you recall last meeting, I had mentioned that I wanted to look into this ordinance a little bit more because I wasn't sure that it was doing what we would want it to do. And so in working closely with city staff to learn a little bit more about what we had proposed, we have come up with an additional idea. And the idea behind it, I'll do a little background. Currently, the system that we have in place, there are approximately, and please correct me if I'm wrong, staff 5 to 10 people who are utilizing that assistance. In Wyoming, Wyomingites we have the lowest usage of some of the federal benefits for a variety of reasons. So my concern was that the people who would be eligible to access this aren't going to access it for, as I said, a variety of reasons. So asked, were there other things that we could look at that would also increase that poverty level because it's incredibly low at the federal level? That could then encompass a few more people. And so staff was excellent and looked into the LEAP, it's the Low Income Energy Assistance Program that Wyoming has in place. And this will allow those numbers to, or more individuals to access that because it's an easier route to show. So you would present your tax refund statement that shows your actual income and then proof that you live at your home. They did a lot of work on this. I could present some amendments tonight, but in speaking with staff and as city attorney mentioned this weekend, sometimes it's nicer not to do those on the fly. And we've been working those out. They've been working for probably a week and since last time on trying to just kind of iron these out. So I apologize for the delay, but I think if you guys want to do it tonight and really want to get this on the table tonight, I am happy to present what those amendments are. But I think in the long run, it will save us time to have a city attorney help us with those amendments and make them cleaner or ensure they're cleaner up front.
So then would I entertain a motion to delay?
I would move to delay.
So, yes, Mayor, at this point, if the council wishes to postpone, then you would take a motion to postpone to the February 18th meeting, and then you would just need a second and majority vote on that.
With discussion on the motion, right? Is that a question?
Yes, you can, it is debatable, yeah.
A second.
So, did you make a motion?
I did.
Okay, and
Can we have?
if you could make that.
I move to postpone this decision until the February
18th
meeting.
8th?
18th.
18th.
I second.
So we have a motion by Vice Mayor Richardson and a second by Councilor Bowling. Do we have any questions? Councilor Newman.
I want to make sure I understood, because I was going to take notes and then didn't. So state has a program, right, that residents can go to get better help than what we are doing here. And this is going to be
So, and Director Webb, if you want to help out with this as well, but this is the Low Income Energy Assistance Program, so it's specific to energy, but they have a chart so it's 60% of the state median income is what it is based on. And so we would be utilizing the rates that they already have in place as a model for what we could do this.
Director Webb, please.
just to clarify, because Mayor, I think it may help Councilmember Newman's question. And so, next meeting, if you choose to postpone, you would consider an amendment by substitution. So you would be able to see not only what's before you this evening, but the amended ordinance with the work of Vice Mayor Richardson. And so the city does have its existing program, and that's what we're talking about right now, which requires that you own a home, requires that you be enrolled in a federal program, and has an enrollment right now of about 10 to 15 customers. I hope that helped answer some of your questions.
Do you have any further questions?
Not right now.
Are there, Councilor Bowling?
Yeah, thank you, Vice Mayor, for your work on this. Thank you, Director Webb. I'm curious that 10 to 15 is such a surprisingly low number. Is that based on people that know it is available to them, or is that the number of people we can calculate that are eligible? Because if it is the former, then is this a question about educating the public about that service?
Mayor.
City Manager, did you wish to?
Sure. Mayor, maybe I can offer a little clarity. So when we originally designed this assistance program to effectively give people a discount off their city utility bill now, a little more than 10 years ago, we determined to not recreate the wheel, so to not create a section of city services that would require people to provide income statements or income tax returns or anything like that. Like, we don't have that expertise on staff, nor did we feel we needed to develop it, because we mirrored our 2013 assistance program after federal programs. So basically we said, if you're eligible for these certain federal programs, then we know you'll be eligible for ours. So we take qualifying for those federal programs as a qualifying criteria to get our utility bill assistance. What's being proposed to, and I think what Councilor Richardson is describing and Director Wade are describing, is that those federal programs, for reasons that I don't understand, I think Micah understands better, we have low participation in those federal assistance programs in this state. But what we have fairly high participation in is the LEAP program, which is administered by the Wyoming Department of Family Services and provides energy utility assistance. So what I think we're proposing is to switch from modeling our eligibility after federal eligibility, instead move the program to, if you're eligible for LEAP or energy assistance in Wyoming through the Department of Family Services, then we will take that as tacit proof that you're eligible for our local utility assistance program. Does that make sense? Does that help with your question?
Yeah, that helps incredibly. Thank you, Assistant City Manager. That makes a lot more sense. Thank you.
Are there any further comments? Director Wade?
Mayor Cumbie, if I could just add, as staff did research, Director Webb and I, as we did research to try to answer some of Vice Mayor Richardson's questions, what we found in looking at comparator programs in Colorado and South Dakota, in our neighboring states, was that many of them actually do utilize the LEAP guidelines rather than enrollment in federal programs. And so I just want to offer you that as a piece of additional evidence in terms of how others structure these credits.
Thank you. Any further questions? Does the public have any comment on the motion to postpone? Seeing none, I return to council for any comments. Vice Mayor?
Thank you. I just want to say thank you, regardless of how this vote goes, to both Director Webb and Director Wade for the time and effort they put into researching this and looking at what we could do with this program, and for verbalizing it far better than I did tonight. So thanks also on that end.
Councilor Newman?
So, my comment would be, to me, it doesn't matter what standard we use. If we can get more people, if that is the intention, to use this program, I don't know if I am comfortable with doing this all on third reading, if we should have a work session to iron everything out, because I don't know what the motions that are going to be brought up are, and then you guys know how my brain works. If I find something, like now I have to be the one to be on the fly to, like, hey, did you think of this instead? So I'm wondering if we should get the proposed motions to us and then push this out for 2 more weeks after that, because I understand the motion to postpone it, but then if I'm being honest, I'm probably going to make the same motion in 2 weeks if I find something that needs to be tweaked or I'm not 100% comfortable with, and instead of prologuing that meeting, if we should get the proposed motions and then move this meeting to 2 weeks. And I don't know what that date is because my calendar wouldn't open up, or I would make a motion to move it 2 weeks farther.
City Clerk, do we entertain another motion, or
we vote this
is it
down.
possible to change the date on the first motion?
You can amend your postponement, I believe. I didn't bring my cheat sheets in here, but normally on amendments, you can amend up to 2 times one amendment.
Right. So the first, I might ask, Vice Mayor Richardson, do you wish to amend your
It would be March 4th.
your proposal to March 4th? Or would you like that as a separate vote?
I am sorry to complicate this issue more. I am also wondering, the other thing we could do, but again, I don't, and maybe Bob could propose a recommendation, because the other thing I could do is walk through what those amendments were going to be. They'll be kind of sloppy, but they'll give you the idea of what that will. Sorry, Nancy.
City Clerk.
No, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was going to come after.
Okay. So I've got the list. I could share those tonight, which would give the public and all of you just a general idea of what this is going to look like. I don't guarantee it will be, but then Bob would help to work to make sure that whatever I gave to you, and there might be a few little additional cleanups. Would that make it more comfortable so we're not putting this out, whatever that would be now? I am perfectly happy either way. It doesn't matter to me, but that would be another option.
Mayor, if I could just offer the council.
City Clerk.
That procedurally, it is appropriate, according to Robert's Rules of Order, to provide written notice of amendments as well. So that is something that could potentially happen before that February 18th meeting, to prepare the council for the amendments. That information would also be provided in your packet on February 18th to the community, so they would see what those amendments would look like.
So Councilor Richardson, Vice Mayor Richardson.
I'm also Councilor Trey. Bob, if we were to do the suggestion that, or the option that Nancy just noted, where we present the amendments that staff worked through on this with me, and share it with you, would you have time, do you think, to have those ready then for that 18th meeting, so that they would be seen, and then...
Director Wade and I were just talking. Once they get to me, which I think will be in the next few days, I can turn it around in 2 days.
Okay. So, okay.
Get them out.
So I would then keep my motion on the table with the caveat that that I will present these amendments, as Nancy noted, in kind of that rough draft, if you will, form, for then Bob to have prepared in the for real form on the 18th.
Councilor Newman, do you wish to make a motion?
Oh, we got to vote on this one first before I can.
You could amend the motion to postpone to change the date, if that's the wish of the council.
So we can amend the date and then come back to us.
Well, we'll just see if this passes. Somebody.
Counselor Bowling.
Yeah, Councilor Newman, I'm just curious, if we are able or I guess this is for the council in general, but if we're able to have the amendments, proposed amendments turned around so that we can begin that revision process, is there a reason we can't add a review and discussion of that to either our 28th or 11th work session in advance of the third reading on the 18th as proposed by Vice Mayor Richardson?
Oh.
I know there's a lot on that agenda.
I do not know the answer to that question.
Realistically, if I may, Mayor.
You may.
Realistically, according to our rules and procedures, if we said that we wanted a work session on January, 28th, it would have to be within the motion for that work session. However, city manager gets the final say whether or not that can be scheduled. And that's according to our rules and procedures, if I read them right.
Thank you for that clarification.
Mayor, if you're ready, we
Yes.
do have, your work session schedule is full, and I don't mean a little full, I mean packed to the brim, through March, mid-March, I believe, with the exception of March 11th. If I could clarify, I want to make sure everyone understands, if you postpone to a date certain and expect us to bring back this as a substitution item, Jen will get all of the amendments to the city attorney by the end of the week. He will put those into a form so that you all can have an advance peek of that well before the publication deadline, which is going to be the Friday before your next regular meeting. You could probably have this by early next week, so that you will have in text all the changes for you to review, ask questions about. So I just want to make sure that you all understand that you could likely have that by early next week, which will give you over a week and a half to review those changes.
Counselor Newman.
I'll tell you my problem with that. One of the goals that you guys came up with that was also in my email was communication and transparency. So if we get them before the public, I don't personally feel comfortable with that, because that means that we have more time to review it. So if we can get it out to the public the same day, then I would be okay with it. But until then, I would vote this down because I don't feel comfortable doing it.
Counselor Richardson.
I will also note that this program doesn't go into effect until July, correct? And so we have time. If we need to, if you all feel like, let's slow this down a little bit and give the public time to look at it, which I am all for, and we don't have to get this done in the next 2 weeks. We don't have to get it done in the next month. I would love to just get it done, but the timeline, I don't want to stress anyone out with that timeline. Let's take the time, in my opinion, take the time that we need. And me bringing it on third reading, I know is not the best thing, and I will really try hard not to ever do something like this again. If folks want to postpone, I am great, 100%.
Counselor Newman. Counselor Bowling.
Thank you, thank you, Mayor, thank you, Vice Mayor. Thank you, Councilor Newman, for that clarification. It's helpful for me also just to become familiar with this process. And yes, I completely agree with you about the transparency issue. I also, upon this discussion, I'm like, I would like to know more about this before I make a decision that is potentially going to affect a lot of residents that might really need it. I think maybe something we could also discuss is the idea that if in the past not many people have participated in federal programs, what are we doing to make sure that people know that they can access this now? So I would join Councilor Newman in his suggestion for the March 4th, I believe it was, yeah.
Counselor Newman?
I would like to make a motion to amend the motion. Is that correct, City Manager? And instead of the 4th, after City Manager, I would like to move this to the 18th of March, and then schedule a work session for the 11th of March. I think that's right, if I'm looking right. So, so I would like to, my motion would be to move this out till March 18th, and then at the end of the meeting, I will make a recommendation to have a work session on the 11th.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion made by Newman, second by Bowling, to move this date out to March 18th. Director Wade.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor. Just after the vote, I would just like a little clarification on what you would like staff to have prepared for the work session, if it's just the original staff recommendation that we've provided the history of, juxtaposed with the Vice Mayor's suggestions, just for review. Yeah.
And Mayor,
Yes.
if I could for the minutes have a clarification, if the motion does include postponement to March 18th and a work session on February.
I think I can do that in this motion because the work session. If I can do that, I'll do that. That clears up there.
Or would it be more clear?
Yeah, which way would you like?
City Manager, do you have a preference? Is that-
Whatever is easier for your minutes is what I will.
Just to amend the date?
And request a work session on?
Yes.
Okay,
Right.
February 11th.
So all one motion?
Yeah.
So, okay. And then I will clarify.
March 11th? March 11th. Thank you for that clarification.
Any further comments or questions on this motion? Are there any public comment on the motion to postpone until March 18th and to have a work session on this topic on March 11th? Seeing none, I return to council. Any final comments? City Clerk, if you can roll call on the motion to postpone to March 18th.
So just to be clear, Mayor, this is the amendment to the postponement motion. So Bowling,
Yes.
Freed,
Yes.
Lockhart,
Yes.
Newman,
Yes.
O'Doherty, absent, Shumway, absent, Vigil,
Yes.
Richardson.
Yes.
Cumby.
Yes.
That's 7 yeses, 0 nos, and 2 absent, Your Honor. So that brings us back to the postponement motion. So, yeah, so we go back to the motion to postpone and take a vote on the motion to postpone as changed, as amended.
Okay. So I get another motion to post.
So we have the motion on the floor.
So we have amended the motion on the floor.
Right. So now
Now,
yeah.
is there any further discussion on the original motion as amended? Counselor Newman?
City staff, my idea for the work session was just discussing the pros and cons of our current model and then all the amendments, right? So we're not doing that on the fly, just in case there are other amendments that need to be brought. We have time to discuss it. So what was going on in my brain, the hamster was trying, was just to maybe have a presentation of the pros and cons of what we have now, and then maybe some pros and cons of the amendment, if that makes sense. Okay, good, because it made sense in my head.
Any further comments? Are there any comments from the public on the current motion? Seeing none, City Clerk, please call the roll.
Bowling,
Yes.
Freed,
Yes.
Lockhart,
Yes.
Newman,
Yes.
O'Doherty, absent, Shumway, absent, Vigil,
Yes.
Richardson,
Yes.
Cumby.
Yes.
That's 7 yeses, 0 nos, and 2 absent, Your Honor.
Thank you, and thank you for your help through that. Item 16, Counselor Freed.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor. I move to award the bid for the Laramie Community Pool Filter Replacement Project to Prestige Aquatics in an amount not to exceed $280,500. Approve Resolution 2025-09 to amend the project budget by $140,500 and authorize the mayor and city clerk to sign.
Second.
Motion made by Freed, seconded by Vice Mayor Richardson. Director Boyd.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. Thank you for being here tonight on this cold evening. So as you're aware, the Laramie Community Recreation Center is 20 years old. Our pool is that old as well, as are the filters that filter our pool. And we have 6 of them that are very large filters, 2 for each of the main pools. So 2 for the indoor leisure pool, 2 for the indoor lap pool, and then 2 for the outdoor leisure pool. All of them need to be replaced. If anybody has been swimming recently, you might feel a little gritty sand at the bottom of your feet when you're in some of the pools. We try and keep on top of it, but when pool filters age, they start dumping sand into the water, along with just not being as efficient in their filtration. And so the action before you tonight is to award the bid to Prestige Aquatics. We went out for bid back in November, and we opened up the bids on November 19th. We received 3 bids. The lowest bid that you see from USA Construction, as indicated in the staff report, was deemed to be unable to produce the work as specified. We were not able to make good contact with them and verify, and it was a fairly low bid for what we thought the size of the project was. So we are recommending Prestige Aquatics in the amount of $280,500. The original project budget was $140,000, but that was actually to only do part of the project, only 2 of the filters. And if you've ever been in that pool filter room, and I invite anybody that would like to come and tour that filter room, it's a very small room. It would be very difficult to piecemeal them out and replace them. So it makes a lot more sense both on efficiency and cost of the size of the project of mobilization to have it all done at the same time. So that is what we're recommending and to Prestige Aquatics, and it does require a budget amendment. However, I am going to claim my very few new guy cards, and I did make a mistake on the resolution itself. So I would love to have Director Wade come up and, Director Webb come up and, no, Director Wade, sorry, getting all my W's confused, to come up and explain what mistake I made and hopefully an easy amendment to the resolution so that we could move forward with this bid award.
Director Wade.
Honorable Mayor and Council, in the resolution, there's a simple Scrivener's error, in my opinion. Where it states that we're amending the general fund. We're actually amending the recreation center fund. And so I'd like to go on the record and report that error and say that I think if we change our motion, instead of saying to amend the project budget, maybe say to amend the recreation center fund. With this disclosure, I'd look to the clerk for other ideas about how to correct this with the resolution language being incorrect.
So, Mayor, thank you. A simple amendment motion to replace the words general fund with
recreation center fund
would be sufficient.
Okay. Do I have an amendment? Vice Mayor?
I move to change general fund to recreation center fund.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Freed.
And that is the end of my report, sorry.
Do we need a voice vote or roll call on that amendment?
We could do a roll call, but
Okay.
would you like to take public comments on?
Yes. Is there any public comment on the amendment currently? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Oh, roll call.
Bowling.
Aye.
Freed.
Yes.
Lockhart.
Yes.
Newman.
Aye.
O'Doherty, absent. Shumway, absent. Behill.
Aye.
Richardson.
Yes.
Cumby.
Yes,
That's 7 yeses, 0 nos, and 2 absent, Your Honor.
thank you.
Announce the main.
So now we're back to the main motion. Counselors, are there any questions? Any questions? Counselor Bowling,
Yeah, sorry, I'm full of questions, thank you.
that's good.
So the original budget for this project was for a single replacement, but that was almost entirely grant funded, if I'm reading this correctly. And so it's really essentially doubling it to replace 6, which seems very reasonable. I'm just curious, inside of the Parks and Rec, what was the fund? Parks and Rec Fund, Rec Center Fund, I'm sorry. Is there room inside that approved 24-25 biennial budget for that addition?
Honorable Mayor, through you.
Yes, Director Bork.
We believe so, and if we discover that there's not, we would come back to you with an amendment for, or a budget amendment to correct that, but we believe there is.
Thank you. Counselor Lockhart?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, Director Bork. So the last filters lasted 20 years. What's the projected lifetime of the new filters going to be, and are they any different?
Honorable Mayor, through you.
Director?
Councilor Lockhart, they're replacing essentially the same type of filter. It's a different brand, but it's essentially the same type of filter. We estimate that at least 15 to 20 years of life as well.
Counselor Freed?
That was my question. Thank you.
Any further questions? City Manager?
Mayor, I just wanted to clarify to Councilor Bowling's question, there is sufficient funding in the Recreation Center Fund, and if there had not been, we would not have recommended you approve this.
Thank you, City Manager. Any other questions? Are there any comments from the public on this motion? Seeing none, I return to council. Are there any final comments? Councilor Newman.
This is something that we obviously have to do because without it, I don't know about you guys, but if I wanted to swim in sand, I'd just go to a lake or something well, I'd probably go to the beach because it sounds fun right now. But I think going forward, at some point, maybe, and I know rec centers aren't profit centers by any means, but I think we need to have some discussions on the future of our rec center with the amount of money that we do pour into it and the sustainability of that, where we could be using those funds for other projects. Don't be surprised when I bring that as a working session topic, just to have some open dialogue.
Any further comment? Seeing none, City Clerk, please call the roll.
Bowling.
Yes.
Freed.
Aye.
Lockhart.
Aye.
Newman.
Yes.
O'Doherty, absent. Shumway, absent. Behill.
Aye.
Richardson.
Yes.
Cumby.
Yes.
That's 7 yeses, 0 nos, and 2 absent, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that the Laramie City Council approve Resolution 2025-10 to amend the Laramie Bike Park project budget by $500,000 and authorize the mayor and city clerk to sign.
Second.
Motion by Freed, second by Behill. Welcome back, Director Bork.
It's been too long, Honorable Mayor. Thank you. Honorable Mayor, City Council. More for context for new councilors, in December of 2024, I asked the City Council to reject the bid for the previous bike park project And as you see in here, it was really due to insufficient funds. We had $900,000 in the budget, $200,000 or $700,000 of work funding, $200,000 of specific purpose tax funding. The bids came in with all of the ad alternates at $3.6 million, so significantly higher than what we had. We also only had one bidder for that project, and that generally makes me uncomfortable. I always like to have some comparables. So you all rejected that bid. And so even at that point, I said that we were going to kind of relook at the project and try and come up with a different way to approach this. First step is by asking for this appropriation to add an additional $500,000 to the project out of the specific purpose tax funding, of which we have enough in our park fund for that, which would bring the total project cost up to $1.4 million. What we don't know is if this will still be enough. You know, the $3.6 million for all of the adults in the full base bid project is a lot. But what we hope is we're going to try and go out for a request for qualifications process instead of a request for proposal process is what we used the last time. We're hoping that by doing that and by making the language a little bit clearer, we're going to be able to attract some different bidders. We have made contact since that last bid was failed with some more local potential bidders that do these bike park projects. Our goal is in the base bid is to get all of the biking elements. Those were the things that were the most highest priority. So the skills park, the terrain park, the pump track, things like that. What I also hope to get out of this is the trail that kind of goes around the outside, obviously the fencing, and then we have some civil work that is required as well, such as irrigation and some landscape planting of native plants to help with erosion control and things like that. We may not get all of the elements that were ad alternates, things like the parking lot that was envisioned to be off of the cul-de-sac by the church, possibly some of the shelters. But we envision that if those are not able to be in this initial bid, that we would add those in a phased approach. But we really hope that with this $1.4 million, we can get the basic main elements that were originally envisioned by the public and be able to move this project forward. I was looking back at documents, and we were first starting to talk about this with the community back in 2016. So it's been quite a long time. I would love to be able to get this moving forward. With that said, because we're kind of late into the season, we may not be able to get construction started this year, or potentially maybe not until this fall. We just really won't know that until we put the RFQ out and find out timelines of what people have already scheduled. So with that ends my report, and I will be open to any questions.
Thank you. Councilor Freed.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Director Bork. I have two questions, and they might be answered by Director Wade as well. One, I'm just curious about how the $500,000 was chosen. Is that just what you had in the budget to add, or is that a thoughtful process to get to 1.4 and think that would be effective?
Yeah, Honorable Mayor, through you. The answer is we have about $1 million that was unallocated in the park specific purpose tax portion. And so this would still leave about $500,000 left in that. But we didn't really, I'll be honest, I didn't look and piece things out. I'm hoping that an additional $500,000 will get us closer to that goal line.
Thank you. And then my second question, Mayor, if I would.
Follow up?
Yes, please.
Yes.
Thank you, Mayor. And my second question is, are there limitations to those 2018 funds? Do they expire at a certain point? Is that a concern if we don't get bidders soon? And I don't know if you have the answers to that, Director Bork.
Honorable Mayor, through you. As far as I'm aware, there's no time limit on those. There is some time constraints on the work funding that we received, and we're supposed to use that by the end of 2026. However, there can be extensions as far as what we found out from the award grant program. We can't ask for extensions if we haven't expended the funds by then.
Thank you.
Councilor Newman, did you have a Question or comment?
I have a comment, so I'll wait until afterwards, but.
Okay. Any other questions?
Aaron has-
Councilor O'Doherty, welcome back.
Thank you. My sister's doing well. I was wondering, Director Bork, I was picturing this near the rec center, but then when you said something about a church, I realized I guess I don't know where this is proposed to be. Would you mind filling us in? Thank you.
Honorable Mayor, through you. Yeah, Councilor O'Doherty, it is behind the rec center, between kind of the rec center, the ice and event center, and the high school. So it's in that big open area that's behind there, and along, I don't know my streets yet, but along the behind the rec center, or behind the ice and event center, there's a cul-de-sac, and there's a church on the other side. And there had been envisioned, so that we don't impact church parking and really take up space on the streets, that there would be a small parking lot off to the north side of that, I believe, is, if my directions are correct.
Thank you, Director. Any other questions? Seeing none, I go to the public. Does the public have any comment on this item? Seeing none, I return for comment. Councilor Newman.
I can't support this. It's, asking for $500,000, and then the whole plan is, we don't actually have an end number of this. Plus, my biggest problem with it is we help fund the Pilot Hill. Why can't we partner with them and build something cool out there? Because they're already building, a building and bathrooms and, a place that people can get. There's already going to be a parking lot. I don't understand why we can't partner with them and maybe bring the price down to this and save some money that we can use somewhere else. So I will not support this, because I think we can better our partnerships with other places around town.
Are there any other comments? Councilor Freed?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Yeah, thank you, Councilor Newman. I understand your perspective, and I think I will support this, just because I think we won't know what we get until we put it out to bid. We can't put it out to bid without having enough funding based on the knowledge that we have, and from there, we don't have to award the funding if we don't think it makes sense, and I think that's the work that the city has done to solicit contractors, and so I'm curious to see if we can increase this funding, who we can get that's interested in this, maybe some local contractors, and then talk about partnerships, but we won't know unless we send it out to bid, but I understand your perspective.
Councilor O'Doherty?
I support this because this was an attempt to bring in people from out of town. They can have competitions, and it's kind of what we were talking about at the retreat. It's an economic development effort in addition to being local recreation. Thanks.
Vice Mayor Richardson.
Thank you. I appreciate the comments. I think there are a few things perhaps to think about that are a little bit different in terms of Pilot Hill and this project. And Pilot Hill really is a kind of wilderness recreation, and those paths have been developed out there specific to mountain bike, for walkers, for horse folks, all that good stuff. This is a little bit, or a bit different in its design and what it does. And so I understand why it's going there. I would also, I am also in support of this, but I would hesitate to go much more over this. I think if we can't get something that is going to fulfill what we are looking for at the 1.5 level, I'd be really hesitant to go up anymore. And I know that the grant is a huge chunk of this funding, right? So that I very much appreciate, and is part of why I think I would continue to support this with additional funding.
City Manager.
Mayor, thank you. I just thought I would add one piece of information. I was going to clarify that the bike park is, I think Councilor Richardson did a good job explaining it, but it's different than Pilot Hill. And I do believe that as part of our conceptual plan, there was conversation with the Pilot Hill folks. Councilor Newman, if that gives you some measure of comfort. I also wanted to add that I have had conversation with our grant researcher, and they are looking into the possibility of maybe private foundation grants. I can't promise you that those will be brought to bear, but I'll share with you that it is my hope that we may be able to find such grants, because I'm increasingly concerned that projects like this may have to be scaled back into the future based on the signaling we're getting from the legislature and expected cuts that will be coming our way that may make it very difficult for us in the future to effect and complete quality of life projects like this. So we're gonna work for some grants, and maybe we'll be back with good news. And I would agree as well with what the Vice Mayor said. I will be hesitant to recommend to you that we exceed 1.4 million in the future based on the financial landscape that we're looking at.
Thank you, Mayor. One concern I have is if we do get a bid for 1.4 million, is the scope of work going to meet our expectations on what we want? I mean, what could you get for 1.4 million if the only company that bid on this was 3.6? Is it going to meet our expectations, or, I mean, we do have the option to say, no, we're not going to do it. But that would be my question, is what do you expect for the 1.4 million?
Director Bork.
Thank you, Director Bork.
Yeah, Honorable Mayor, through you. Councilor Lockhart, it's a good question. And you know, one of the challenges that I think that we had in the original bid that came up so high was we weren't working with a company who is that builds bike parks. That single bidder was essentially a landscape company that was going to do the dirt work and civil work part at what I consider to be a very high cost. And then coupled that with, they partnered with a bike ramp company there was quite a bit of an upcharge just to have their equipment that came from southern Missouri to come into the state. And so who we've identified, and we've been working with folks from BikeNet and other local groups, are people who specifically build bike parks. You know, some of the one of the adults was for instance, hardened jumps. You know, instead of having dirt jumps that do require a bit more maintenance, but I've been assured that there's a lot of community support to help us with that ongoing maintenance. The hardened jumps, you know, obviously are either wood or concrete or some other hardened material at a much higher cost. And so the hope is by relooking and how we write the specifications in the RFQ, we'll be able to hopefully be able to parse out those best pieces that get us the best park that we possibly can for the dollars available. Again, until to Councilor Freed's point, until we put it out there in this new format and talk to these companies and hopefully have them submit bids, we're not sure. The information that we've got right now is that there is significant interest in some of these other bike park builders in at least taking a crack at putting in a bid for this project.
Vice Mayor Richardson.
Thank you. Thank you, Director Bork. I guess my question then comes back to, have there been any conversations with those new folks now who we think could be interested in sharing what the old dollar amount, or what the current, I should say, dollar amount is for bid? Because are we putting $500,000 more toward this before seeing whether those new folks that you've chatted with would be able and interested in doing this at the $900,000 mark?
Honorable Mayor, through you.
Director.
Vice Mayor, yes, we had those conversations in-house, and when I was looking at the budget that had been built and the quotes that had been developed to get to that $900,000 number were developed several years ago. And one of the first observations I made was the financial landscape and the construction landscape has changed significantly, even just in the last few years. I think some of these numbers were originally developed 4 or 5 years ago, even right around or pre-COVID. So I think we were working from a deficit from the beginning in putting it out at the dollar amount that we were, but there just had not been a kind of what I consider a robust enough relooking at the dollar budget of what we should expect to pay between then and when we put it out to bid. The bids were put out, I believe, either as I was getting here or even right before I got here. So I kind of inherited that project as it was. So when I was looking at it, I tried to put a cost factor, really is all it was if it was 900,000 3 or 4 years ago, 1.4 million. And to answer your question, yes, those were some of the questions that were asked of some of these new interested potential parties, and I don't want to mess the system up by being any more specific than that, of should we be able to get a bike park as it's envisioned for that amount of money. And none of them are obviously going to give a hard answer absolutely until they put the numbers, or pencils to the paper and figure that out. But the impression was, yes, we should be able to, for that higher dollar amount, be able to get as much, again, of that base bid at least as what we hope.
I have a follow-up.
Follow-up?
Sorry, but did you ask them what they could do or if they could do with the current dollar amount?
Honorable Mayor, through you, Vice Mayor, yes, we did. And the answer was, it would be really tight to try and do that. And I'll provide a little bit more clarity. What I was specifically asking for, what I feel is a very vital part of the project, is not just the skills area, the pump track, the jump area, which are all very important. But I was also looking at the other multiple uses of that area. And to me, one of the things that was left out of the equation on some of that base bid was the trail that goes around, that has a lot of more implication because it links up with the community rec center and the ice and event center, and provides both fitness opportunities for non-biking folks or parents who are there with their kids who are out on the pump track or the skills area, to be able to take a nice walk around, up and around the hill. And so when I was looking at these individual components, that's what I was really more asking the questions of some of these potential other folks that might be interested in bidding, of, trying to put the fence line, the trail, the pump track, the skills track, or skills area, the jump area, maybe not all of the elements of the big air jumps on the hillside. That was one of the kind of questionable things, just because of the cost of the civil work involved in doing that. The irrigation, the native planting, all of those. That's what we really focused on, and the answer that I got was, we're not really sure on the 900. We're pretty sure on the one. If there was additional money at that point, I hadn't identified how much more. But what I was trying to say was, a chunk added on. So we didn't ever really talk specifically about the 1.4. Our focus was really more on what we think we could get with what we have existing, and there wasn't a high level of confidence on being able to get all of those things with that.
Thank you. And Councilor Doherty, do you have another question or comment?
Just a comment. I forgot to mention that when we talked about this before, one of the advantages was being near the rec center, that we could get people coming to the rec center from out of town and in town. And also, it's a lifelong sport around here, unlike soccer and football. Once you get to be an adult, you have a hard time finding people to play with. But in Laramie, people are riding their bikes all year long. So I just want to point that out. Thanks.
Thank you. And any other? Councilor Bowling.
Thank you, Mayor. Director Bork, can you remind me again what the deadline for using the Wyoming Outdoor Rec Grant 1290 is?
Honorable Mayor, through you.
Yes, Director.
Councilor Bowling, it's in 2026. I don't know if it's mid-2026 or by the end of 2026, but I know 2026 is the number that is in my mind.
Okay. And I guess I'm curious if it's possible to amend that spend by date, or I'm not sure exactly how the
Director
legal works for that. But, sorry, please.
Honorable
him
Mayor,
to answer.
Councilor Bowling, yes. In conversations with the ward funding agency representatives, there was the indication that, as long as the project was moving forward, we could ask for an extension on the deadline for that.
Thank you. I think that you provided some description of the bike park that began to help me distinguish Councilor Newman's question, and that is the difference between the bike park and the type of biking that goes on there versus Pilot Hill and mountain biking in a wilderness area. I'm wondering if you could expand on the type of skills or pieces of the bike park to give a better picture of how that differentiates from Pilot Hill.
Honorable Mayor, absolutely. And again, keeping in mind, I'm assuming this project, with only 4 months of knowledge, but as it was explained to me, even from the very first day when I started looking at this project, this was described as mountain biking is a cultural lifestyle here in Laramie. And what this bike park, part of its envisioning kind of foundation was to give an in-town skills development area so that people, whether it's children or adults, before they went up into the hills, even to Pilot Hill or up into other, more extreme mountain biking environments, have an area to develop their skills in town. Yes, the proximity to the rec center and the ice and event center, the proximity to the high school, and just kind of the proximity to access from a lot of town is important. But this skills park was one of the things that really struck my eye. So there's a pump track, which anybody who's seen skate parks and bike parks, you've seen pump tracks. You've seen the jump areas where the people can make, bigger air jumps. But the skills area is really almost think of boardwalks, narrow boardwalk trails that are just slightly elevated off the ground that help simulate narrow single track mountain biking. And developing kind of those balance and fine motor skills while you're on mountain bikes, and again, giving that confidence, giving that educational ability, giving those skills before anybody goes up into more just outdoor kind of remote extreme mountain biking experiences. So to me, that was one of the things that I saw of the value of it being where it's been located. And I know there were several other locations in town and out of town that were discussed in the planning and development process, but this area, because of its proximity to the facilities, to the high school, and to easy access to, the rest of the community, this was meant to be as much a recreational opportunity as an educational and skill development opportunity.
I really appreciate your going through that. I found it very helpful.
Thank you.
And Councilor Newman.
Now that I see the whole big picture, I do like the path around it, because I don't need to go and jump and stuff, but if I took my son out there, then I would have something to do too. And not only that, I think as it was playing out in my head, being so close to maybe the rec center, that this ties into what I said that we should have a work session on, because that could bring in some out-of-town people as well. So, but as Vice Mayor Richardson said, I probably won't go above the 1.4 when it comes to us.
Thank you. And Councilor Freed.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Director Bork, for the presentation. And I guess to reiterate, too, to all the councilors here and the public, this has to go out to bid. We have a lot of opportunity to solicit those and review those. And also, I would say, I'm sure BikeNet or other supporting entities in town would be happy to come and speak about the differences. If we get to that point and we want to accept or deny or amend any sort of bids that we get, I'm sure, as an avid biker and a trail builder, I'm sure we could get members of the community that could come speak to the differences or the pros and cons if we have to do that. But thank you, Director Bork.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Roll call vote, please.
Bowling.
Yes.
Freed.
Yes.
Lockhart.
Yes.
Newman.
Yes.
O'Doherty, absent? Oh,
Yes.
just kidding,
No,
sorry,
here.
O'Doherty.
Yes.
Shumway is absent. Vigil.
Yes.
Richardson.
Yes.
Cumby.
Yes.
That's 8 yeses, 0 nos, and 1 absent, Your Honor.
Thank you. And item 18, Vice Mayor Richardson.
Thank you. I move that the Laramie City Council approve the agreement for professional services between the City of Laramie, Wyoming and Thena Engineering for the West Laramie West Side Shared Use Pathway Connector Project in an amount not to exceed $135,550 and authorize the mayor and clerk to sign.
Do I have a second? Newman? Motion by Richardson, second by Newman.
Honorable Mayor, City Council, Todd Fieser, Assistant City Manager here tonight. Nancy, do you have that presentation I sent you earlier today? Thank you, Nancy. While you're getting that up, I'll go ahead and get started. The West Laramie West Side Shared Use Pathway Connector is a grade-separated pathway between Pierce Street and West Snowy Range Road. You can see on the map here in front of you that it's basically stretching from Pierce Street over to I-80, under I-80, to McHugh, across McHugh, over to the river using the trestle bridge, and then moving on the rest of the way to Snowy Range Road. There is a current what I call a desire trail in that area. It's heavily used. It's a great connector for our community to connect 3 portions of our community to all together and to get us tied together. The objectives of this is, of course, that grade separated trail. And then next slide, please, Nancy. More importantly for me is the trestle bridge evaluation. The nice thing about the trestle bridge evaluation is all the firms that we interviewed through the RFQ process indicated that they all believed that the trestle bridge would be and could be made stable and could be improved for satisfaction. As it is now, I'm concerned about the ADA accessibility, and improvements to that bridge will improve ADA accessibility. Staff released a request for qualifications on October 3rd. Legal advertisements in the Boomerang. We notified past consultants by email, and the RFQ was made available nationally through the Quest City CDN site. We received 6 firms submitting proposals, a team consisting of the City Manager's Office, Parks and Recreation Department, Planning Division, and a member from the Wyoming Territorial Prison who will be a partner in this project, participate in the evaluation. We interviewed 3 firms and selected Thena Engineering out of Cheyenne, Wyoming as best qualified for this project. Darcy Hendon is on the call today if you have any questions for her, but just so everybody knows, she was the design engineer on the 30th to LaPrel Park Pathway project also. We expect this design and engineering project to be finished towards the middle of 2026, allowing project to possibly be constructed in fall of 2026 pending funding. Project was budgeted in 2024 and be managed by the Parks and Recreation Department. With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Questions? Councilor Bowling.
Can always count on me. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Assistant City Manager. And forgive my questions if they're more out of curiosity and ignorance than anything else. 135,000 seems low. It struck me as low. Without knowing what the engineering and design is, do we have a sense as to what, or even an estimate as to what the overall redevelopment and improvement construction cost might come in at?
Honorable Mayor, through you, actually, I have one in my head. I don't know how accurate it is. It's also very dependent on what happens with the trestle bridge as far as improvements, but I'm in the $1.5 million range. And typically, design and engineering, depending on the size of the project, will run between 10%, somewhere 7 to 15% of the project. And I feel confident that we're well within the realm of what we need to do on this project. One of the things that's not incredibly inherent, although it is a part of this project, there will be public input, there'll be public meetings, displays of what we're planning on doing, different types of improvements, but the public involvement is rather limited in this project, as it's already been predetermined in the Parks and Rec master plan and won't end up taking up a lot of the budget that will be used for drawing and design.
Any other questions? Are there any comments from the public on this item? Seeing none, I return to council. Any final comments? Councilor Newman, yes?
We do have a hand raised from Nancy Sindelar online.
Okay, if you could bring her in, please.
Okay, thank you. I don't know why my video is not working. I have it set up.
We recognize your voice, Nancy.
My internet is kind of sketchy. Okay, I've got 2 attaboys and possibly an aw shucks on this. The first one, I have been looking forward to the paving of this trail from when I used to bicycle, walk, and ski it in the 70s. I am so excited about this. This is going to be amazing. Second attaboy, I'm glad you chose this engineering company, this Thena company. The 30th Street to Park job they did is excellent. Every time I'm in that neighborhood, I always run into other people using it. It's very popular, and I like the design they did. Now, and I don't know how much the design credit goes to the city engineers, how much goes to Thena, but between the two of you, you get 110%. That's awesome, what they did out there. Now, the aw shucks is I looked at the pictures, and where this path crosses especially Snowy Range Road, but also McHugh and Pierce, is there a possibility at the very beginning of this design process that we put in like a beg button with a flashing light or something to make crossing a state highway and 2 very busy streets safer? So that there's like a flashing light, kind of like maybe one of those lights down on North 3rd where the arc is for people to cross, hawk light, or a flashing light like they did at 30th at the end of the Thena's go around there at the park, where you can push the button and hopefully it stops traffic so people can safely cross. If you can include that in this project from the beginning, so it's there. And thank you very much for doing this. I'm done.
And thank you for your comments. We appreciate them.
Honorable Mayor, would you like me to respond?
Yes, if you'd like to entertain the question.
Honorable Mayor, we've already envisioned a hawk signal or some kind of pedestrian activated beacon at McHugh. I'm not so sure that we're going to entertain that, but we will look into the feasibility of it on Snowy Range Road just due to the high speed of that road. And there is already a connection on the west side of Snowy Range Road that goes up to the lighted crossing at Cedar Street. And so there are other options instead of crossing the road immediately at that position. So, but they will both be entertained and efforted by the engineering firm as to feasibility and acceptance by WYDOT and possible engineering standards. However, until engineering standards are decided and met and evaluated, we can't make any guarantees or statements that this will happen.
Thank you for your comments. Thank you for your comments. That's appreciated. Now I return to council and Councilor. I saw Councilor Newman first and then Vice Mayor.
I think this does help, if we can get this done, help kind of reconnect West Laramie. I live towards where you would walk underneath 80, and the amount of people that I see go through there and then come back muddy because the trail isn't the best. I will tell you, I go that way, and then connecting it to the Greenbelt would be fantastic. And I'll tell you, that bridge scares me on days. So if we can look at that, I think this would be a great option to help one of our goals of reconnecting West Laramie.
Vice Mayor.
Thank you. I just want to echo, I'm so excited about this and hope to see more in the future of this sort of thing. And I feel like this is a good first step and will go a long way to connecting both sides. So I'm real excited. Woohoo.
Any other comments? I think this is very exciting, and it increases our connectivity, and it really makes us a walkable, bikeable city. City Clerk, if you can call the roll, please.
Bowling.
Aye.
Freed.
Yes.
Lockhart.
Yes.
Newman.
Aye.
O'Doherty.
Yes.
Shumway, absent. Behill.
Yes.
Richardson.
Yes.
Cumby.
Aye.
That's 8 yeses, 0 nos, and 1 absent, Your Honor.
Number 19, Counselor Bowling.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor. I move that the City of Laramie City Council approve the agreement for professional services between the City of Laramie, Wyoming and WWC Engineering for the First Street Parking Depot Parking Lot Depot Park Accessibility Project in an amount not to exceed $136,000 and approve the associated budget amendment resolution 2025-11, increasing the project budget from $75,000 to $136,000, and authorize the mayor and clerk to sign.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion by Bowling, second by Richardson. City Manager?
Honorable Mayor, Todd Fieser, Assistant City Manager. Just a little bit about this project while Nancy brings up my next presentation. Last year during the council budget session, Councilor Richardson made an amendment to the budget and asked how much we estimated it would cost to do a study on First Street parking. I quickly, in my head, evaluated it at $75,000. As we went through the RFQ process and developed the RFQ, we decided that this one would need a robust public involvement section. And by that, I mean that I want a lot of public involvement before our engineers put a single pen to the paper. I don't want to come in with predetermined designs or predetermined ideas on what our community may want related to parking along First Street. Along those lines, when we first calculated it, we were talking about just First Street improvements. I thought it would be a miss if we didn't look at the depot parking lot and see what we could do as far as expansion, capabilities, restriping, something else to make that parking lot a little bit more usable, have a few more parking spaces in it. And then thirdly, one of the biggest things for me was accessibility through this entire park and system is incredibly important. If we're going to do all this parking and all these improvements that are going to come with it, we should make sure that we have fully accessible park and recreation facilities in the area. Through the addition of all those items, we actually ended up with a much larger scope than we'd anticipated. It was originally came in around $196,000. We negotiated a few things down in the scope, corrected some errors, and got it down to the I don't have my glasses on. I'm like, where'd they go? There they are. $136,000. Just to go through the slideshow a little bit for you, Objective 1 is about improved parking on First Street. Currently, First Street between Garfield and Park Avenue is two-way. There's parking along both sides of the street. There's a lot of ways to look at this. You know, the road could be changed to one way and we could gain diagonal parking on one side. We could encroach in the park. There's a lot of things to look at, and also to evaluate stormwater drainage in that area, to make sure that any improvements we do don't exacerbate any problems we have with stormwater drainage. Nancy, if you go to the next slide. Objective 2 was to look at the parking lot improvements, whether it's through realignment of the parking lot or enlargement of the parking lot or some other nature. Believe that we could do better for parking in depot parking lot and make sure that it's more usable and include ADA accessibility improvements. Then next slide, please, Nancy. Objective 3 was about ADA accessibility across the entire project site. And I'm super excited about this project. I think the firm that we have, which is WWC Engineering here locally, understands our community. They're pretty knowledgeable. They are well involved. I think they'll be a great lead. And their partner, Norris Design Group out of Fort Collins, I've worked with them on numerous projects. They're pretty talented, and it's going to be fun to see what comes out of the public process and then what gets put into the plan to make these improvements along First Street. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Counselor, any questions? Seeing none, I go to the public for comment on this item. Seeing none, return to council for any comments. Councilor Freed.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I just really appreciate all the consideration for the public input on this and for Vice Mayor Richardson in the past, but really excited to see what we can do. Thanks.
And I just want to say thank you very much. I think this is very responsive to ongoing public concerns about parking, and for us to look at space available and to examine increasing its potential and making more efficient the access. I really appreciate that, and I think it's an example of our responding to public need, and I appreciate the work you've done on this. Without further comment, City Clerk, if you could call the roll, please.
Bowling.
Yes.
Freed.
Aye.
Lockhart.
Aye.
Newman.
Yes.
O'Doherty.
Yes.
Shumway, absent. Vigil.
Yes.
Richardson.
Aye.
Cumby.
Yes.
That's 8 yeses, 0 nos, and 1 absent, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk. Next, I'll go to the public for any comments on non-agenda items. Seeing none, I would return to council to ask for consideration of future council work session topics. And the last time I asked this question, I allowed for discussion, but what we would do now is you suggest the topic. If it gets a second, then that will be followed up with by staff, and our discussion will take place during the work session and not now. So, yes, Councilor Freed.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I would like a work session on kind of the transportation plan and the housing plan, both of those that have been enacted and are currently moving forward, just to catch myself and maybe other councilors up to speed on what the city's been working on, and maybe to save some time down the line.
Clarification, 2 different ones though, right? But not combined?
I would like to do them combined if possible to save time, unless city clerk or city manager has any ideas, if we would like to split those up. I know that they're both probably pretty long.
Yeah, that's why.
Do I have a second on that?
I'll second them.
Okay. Are there any questions on that suggestion? All right. Any other suggestions? Councilor Newman.
I would like to have a work session on our 5th Tuesdays and how to effectively use them in a new manner, maybe like a town hall, and I can elaborate with city staff if needed.
Do I have a second on that?
I would second.
Yes. Okay. Are there any other suggestions? Then Councilor Newman.
I motion we adjourn.
Do I have a second?
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you very much.